This is Diksha Tiwari, extending a very warm welcome once again to all of you to the Women's Leadership Summit of Indian Chamber of Commerce and the launch of the ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee, the first women chapter in the country in Orissa. So for all you lovely ladies, give a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Chief Minister of Orissa, Shri Naveen Patnaik, has just joined. Let's give him a round of applause and give him a warm welcome as I invite him onto the stage along with all other esteemed dignitaries. Dr. Rajiv Singh, Director General ICC, Dr. M.C. Thomas, Chairman, ICC Orissa State Council, Mr. J.B. Pani, Co-Chairman, ICC Orissa State Council, Ms. Sukirti Patnaik, Convener, IWEC, ICC Orissa State Council, and Ms. Chidatmika Khatua, Co-Convener, IWEC, ICC Orissa State Council. I extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Naveen Patnaik, and all dignitaries on dais. And yes, as is the traditional practice, I would now request Ms. Sukirti Patnaik, Convener IWEC ICC Orissa State Council, to present a bouquet to our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik, as is the traditional way to welcome our guests. Now time to indulge in the theme of the event. Could I request Ms. Sukirti Patnaik, Convener, IWEC, ICC Orissa State Council, to present the theme address.
A very good evening. Honorable Chief Minister of Orissa, Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, to the members of ICC and distinguished guests. We are here today for the inauguration of the ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee and the Women's Leadership Summit. The ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee started as an idea more than a year back. This idea was to bring women from various sectors together under a single umbrella that will work towards the upliftment of all women entrepreneurs. The idea was to create a women-led, women-driven, women-supported ecosystem which can benefit from the reach, resources, and experience of Indian Chamber of Commerce. Today, we, the daughters of the state, are proud to stand in your midst with a committee of dynamic women entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Translating the vision into reality required tremendous amount of hard work, dedication, and a relentless drive from a group of 10 women core members who believed in themselves, believed in power of collaboration, and believed in the possibility. We hope that we have done justice to the trust and confidence the ICC leadership has on us. Thanks to this collective effort, we are proud to be the very first Women's Entrepreneurship Committee in the entire country. Our women, the women of Orissa, have taken this lead in creating the focused entrepreneurship group. For ICC Women Leadership Summit, we have brought together eminent women leaders from the country, from fields varying from business to media, films, fashion, and our own Indian Armed Forces. This intention behind selecting guests from various fields is to show that entrepreneurship or leadership is not restricted to business alone. Leadership is a trait that is needed in every profession. We hope that the sessions and panel discussions with our eminent guests will shed more light on this. To all our guests and media here, I thank you for coming today and being a part of this event. These sessions will offer information to technology, skills, financial planning, marketing, governmental policies, mentorship, quality, process, etc. We hope these sessions will help in the overall development, not only of Women's Committee, but also every aspiring woman of the state. I would thank our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, for being here and supporting this noble cause. Your presence today is a moral booster for all the women here. On behalf of all the 40+ members of the ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee, I thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sukirti. Could I now request Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik to inaugurate the ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee. Let's give a big round of applause. And I request the core committee members to also come on stage and present a memento to our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik. This is a very special one being presented by the core team. The illustration is from the book The Garden of Life, written by our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik. Image is worship of Lord Shiva using bay leaves, and the mounting on the picture is a painting in the Pattachitra style, the traditional art of Odisha, and the frame is from local wood. I'd like to thank the core committee members. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to women empowerment, our Honorable CM literally walks the talk. If Odisha has shown the way to the whole country that women trusted with leadership and entrepreneurship can create wonders, it is all thanks to our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik. When the whole of India was debating greater representation of women in legislature, he showed it by doing it in Odisha during the election. And of course, we all know about the Mission Shakti movement. So it's now my honor to request the Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik to address this beautiful gathering.
Director General ICC Dr. Rajiv Singh, Chairman ICC Odisha Mr. M.C. Thomas, Co-Chairperson Mr. Penny, Convener IWEC Mrs. Patnaik, Mrs. Khatawa, distinguished members of ICC and IWEC, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to inaugurate the ICC Women's Leadership Summit here at Bhubaneswar. I understand that Odisha has become the first state in the country to get ICC's first Women's Committee for Entrepreneurship Development. This committee is a diverse group of women entrepreneurs from various sectors, both big and small, who can share, collaborate, and grow together to fast-pace the ongoing industrial growth in the state. We have always been the champions of the cause of women empowerment. We have encouraged women for their socio-economic empowerment with initiatives like Mission Shakti, Startup Odisha, Skilled in Odisha, and several other initiatives. Through Make in Odisha, we are also encouraging investment in Odisha and translate opportunities into an economic win-win for both the investors and the people of our state. I wish the Women's Entrepreneurship Committee all the very best. Thank you.
So we have with us a highly charismatic and creative person with an impeccable pedigree and who has been making waves in the fashion industry. In conversation with the incredible Samantha Kocher in topics like leadership, challenges, and complacency. So my first question to her is, who's that person who has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader, and how has this person impacted your life?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And honestly, the one person that has been, I think it's very well, everyone already know that, is my mother, Blossom Kocher, Dr. Blossom Kocher. Like everyone knows, I started my career at the age of 11, and she was the one, she's my biggest critic and also my teacher. Not only that, I think she's also been the one that has taught me leadership, because she was the one who used to tell me that, you know, it's when my father passed away around 8 years ago, and he was, and I come from the hair and makeup industry, and we have a very large business, And we have over now 1,000 people working for us. And one of the things I asked her, how can I lead them? I don't know if I'm a leader. And she said, even the panwala outside can be a leader. It has to come from the heart. And that is what my mother has taught me about leadership. If you come from the heart, you'll be a phenomenal leader.
That's lovely. So my next question is, as a business owner, what are the 3 top priorities?
So as a businesswoman, yeah?
Businesswoman, yeah.
I think the first and foremost, one of the biggest things I've learned as a businesswoman, I'm a mother, my son is 23 years old now. When my father passed away, I remember him 3 days before he passed away, he told me that, you have now 600 to 700 families that you have to feed. And it really worried me a lot. And I told him, I said, Dad, I can't look after my son, which is only one son. How am I going to look after 500 families? And he said, as a leader, you are responsible. Every decision of yours that you make are responsible for people to get their next meal, for people to take their children to school. So choose wisely. So that was my first one thing that I learned on being a leader. And there are 2 more things, and I think the priority that I have is I am a woman, and when we sit at a chair, we women are multitaskers, which means we know how to look after our families. We have to look after our families. We also have to look after business, and we are multitaskers. And also we lead with a heart, like I said. So when women and people, not only women, but men also, when they come and they say, my mother is sick, you need to lead, you need to have a heart, you need to lead, and you need to be with compassion. And that is why we are phenomenal leaders, because we lead. So that is one of my priorities, is compassion. And I think the third one is, if you don't have fun what you're doing, it's not going to happen. You need to really enjoy what you're doing.
So in the process, what dominated you, your heart or your head?
A combination of both, but it has to come from the heart.
So what advice would you like to give the youngsters, those who are starting new, those who are new entrepreneurs, those who are interested in startups? So what would be your advice to them?
I am, as I told you, I'm second generation, but I've seen my parents start the business, and I have grown up as a child who has been with a parent who've started business. And my father was just an army officer. He was in the army, and my mother, Blossom Kocher, Dr. Blossom Kocher, she was a simple lady who had a dream that she wanted to go and open up a salon. And my father took out his life insurance money, and he was in the forces, and he's gone to all the wars and everything. And he took out his life insurance and he gave it to her and to run her own business. And my father then went off to Sri Lanka war. And my mother could not forgive herself. She used to get so worried, because you see, when your husband is in war and he's given that life insurance money for you to open your first business. That is how my parents opened up the business. And my father and both of them, my father took an early retirement and from the army, and they both started the business. So as a young entrepreneur, I feel that you have to, my only advice, that what I have seen and what I have also experienced on the chair of the managing director is that, you need to do a lot of back-end work. You need the support of your family. Not only your child, but also your extended family.
So what advice would you give someone who's interested in, this is the question you answered just now, and yours is a women-led organization. So how do you manage that? What is the special thing that you have for women in your organization?
Okay, so
what is the percentage?
Actually, it's a 50-50. I can't say that. Now it's come to a point where the younger girls always tell me, can you please get some more good-looking men into the company? But it's good eye candy, but we have men and women equal. The one thing that we have, of course, is we have a solidly, in the factories, we are starting creches for our women. when they're working, the working force in the factories, because these women come very early in the morning at shift time at 8 o'clock. So there are creches that are opening up in the factories. Besides this, even in our office, we have longer maternity leaves, we have grooming sessions, we have special grade systems on travel. The men feel that, the women get a little extra pampered on that, but we are very particular. And especially when they go late at night, we get a little worried.
You get them. Okay.
We get them. We are very particular about what time the women. I have seen some offices that will start at 10 o'clock or 9:30 in the morning and they'll carry on till 1 o'clock at night. I don't understand the efficiency, because I, as a managing director, believe that if you come at 9 o'clock, if you can leave by 5:30, put in all your work, after 5:30, everyone needs to have a family life. And that is how I follow my business. So if I see anyone working after 5:30, I get a little worried, because I don't think they're efficient.
So there's always this bias against, women getting, when it comes to remuneration or salary or whatever, like they get a little bit less than the men. So can you share?
I've not had that in my organization at all. In fact, some of the women get more highly paid than the men. I'm paid more than the men in the company.
They get paid more than the men?
Yes, I get paid more than the men. I was always in salary in my company, in my parents' company, only that my salary is now a little bigger. If I do not come to work, my salary is cut. And about the remuneration being more, I have not come to this much to my notice, but I believe that any corporate, if a person is well trained for a specific job, they need to be paid for it, irrespective of the gender. And there are some women who are phenomenal at their job, So I don't think, at least not in my company, we have that. I've not heard about it, but I'll be very sad if that is what happens. Yes, but there is one thing that we do have. When I get people who I interview, I ask them, are you married? And they said yes. Then I ask them, are you have any plans for children? And they'll say, not now. I said, when do you have any plans? They said, after 3 years. I said, can you give me 3 years of your time in my company? They said, yes. I said, fine. If I like the person, I take them. And I know after 3 years, they may take a break. There may be a possibility that they will be out of not working in sync with me for 6 to 8 months to a year, but it's okay. But if it's a good workforce, I will wait for them.
Thank you so much, Samantha.
Welcome all of you to this conversation we are having today. And I would once again welcome Ritu and Mugdha and Wing Commander Ms. Shalu Chandel with us. Now, I stumbled because I'm in media, you guys know, and I have had the good opportunity to interview a lot of politicians and eminent personalities, but never ever someone in uniform. So it is natural for me to be nervous. So please excuse me. I am in awe, and I'm sure so many of them in the audience are. So when we were brainstorming about the topic of this session, where we have, these achievers from diverse fields, and we thought, what should be the topic? I think after a lot of brainstorming, we ended up coming back to breaking the glass ceiling. I mean, will we women ever be able to completely break free of this glass ceiling? And I think on those lines, I would start my discussion by asking questions. So I'll ask Mugdha, she's in the glamour industry, and we all are enamored by glamour and fashion, and you debuted with your movie Fashion, and you were nominated with it. We all loved you in Fashion, we remember you in Fashion. But tell me how challenging it is to be a woman in the fashion industry.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real honor to sit amongst all these beautiful entrepreneurs and ladies. I believe everybody is an entrepreneur in their own way here. So coming back to your question, yes, we do get under microscope most of the time. That's the case, that's the job we are in. We have to look good all the time. And if you put on weight, just start doing other roles. You can continue, actor never dies, so you can do any other role, like mother role or something, like whatever you're interested in. So that things are changing. It's not what it used to be before. Of course, there is competition. I think it's in every field. And I want to say something about glass ceiling, what you were talking. Glass ceiling, it's breakable, not breakable. For me personally, it's like peeling an onion. You break one glass ceiling and you find another one, then you break that and you find another one. It's like never ending. Every step we have new kind of glass ceilings, we keep breaking. And as a woman, we have to, I think, keep on breaking them, making new ones, breaking them. That's what women means for me, I guess. And even there is no ceiling, we have to come out and say. So I think that's how I put it. But yes, competition is there, and I'm okay with it. That's
So you spoke about motivation, and speaking of motivation, I remember reading this story a couple of days ago where a 90-year-old woman in Chandigarh, she started a startup and she's selling besan barfis. So we see no lack of motivation in women. So what motivated you, Wing Commander Chandel, to join the armed forces?
Good evening, everyone, and I would like to begin with thanking the ICC Women's Entrepreneurship Committee for having me here, and it's just a pleasure to be in this August gathering. Well, you spoke of motivation. For me, at a personal level, it was very different because I'm a third-generation soldier in my family. My granddad was in the British Army. My dad was in the Indian Army. Therefore, I think it was a natural course for me, for my dad's children, which includes me, to take up the armed forces as a profession. Having been grown up in an army background, I've seen, I've grown up seeing men in uniform, in shining bright uniforms around me, and I think that the pull of the uniform, the charm of the uniform was one of the initial factors that motivated me, that drew me to join the services. Yes, so other than the uniform, I think it's the dignity, it's the respect, it's the place of pride that the uniform brings with it in the society, and the position of authority that it bestows upon you. These were the motivating factors for me.
Ma'am, this is your 16th year in service, and you're in a very senior role in the Air Force. So could you tell me, have you ever thought that you were treated differently because you were a woman, or you've probably had to work harder to prove a point because you were a woman, or any kind of workplace discrimination because of gender?
I feel very proud sitting here and saying this, that armed forces, not just the Indian Air Force, I can speak safely for the other two sister services as well, the Army and the Navy. The armed forces are one of the safest organizations for women to work in, because there is absolutely no gender bias. So it's not that if you're a woman, you have to prove, you have to work harder than your male counterparts. That's not the culture that there is. In fact, right from the time that you're inducted, right from your training days, day one of your training, you are put at an equal pedestal against your male counterparts. So you have male cadets who've come there for training, and you have the female cadets who've come there for training. The training is the same for everybody. You're tested against the same parameters, and this continues even after you pass out, after you get commissioned. There are similar challenges for men as there are for women. So no, I have never in my 16 years have seen discrimination, neither has it happened to me, nor have I heard it happening with anybody else.
I think that's such a welcome thing to hear. But would you agree, Ritu? What about the media and publishing industry? What about discrimination there? What about inequality there? What have been some of your experiences?
Tanaya, the very fact that you are the director,
I'm the executive director.
See, so we are all in the media business and we are doing our thing, right?
I have to say it's my father's company.
That's
I've
okay.
not earned it, honestly. But like,
You're humble.
a lot of people...
But I'm sure that you deserve your position. So may have come to you, but you have done your bit to steer it in a certain direction. And yes, we can pick situations, like we can say, oh, this happened to that woman. But when you look at the media in general, in India and abroad, so if you look at the Vogue editor, Anna Wintour, you see she's an absolute authority. And you could never have James Wintour sitting there doing what she does so effortlessly, actually, over the years. She's been the editor-in-chief of Vogue since 1988, and totally unchallenged. And in India, we have Madhu Trehan. Again, she has Arun Puri as her mentor, and she was part of that group. And today she is doing news laundry so successfully. So, I really feel that in media as well, we have girls who are breaking the most, what we say, that you enter war zones and you're covering stories. You're not stopping anywhere just because you're a woman. Neither are you being stopped. You're being given that opportunity. That's why you achieve that, whatever you achieve.
I think that's a very interesting point. It's up to you, it's up to women to carve out what...
I sincerely feel that. I have been through a lot of organizations. I started my career with Pioneer. I went to Business Standard. And we had, ferocious editors, just tearing off your copies, And we also had these extremely, roaring female editors who would just, say, just because you are a woman, I can't, let you get away with this, So it was never like, it was not because of this or that. It was your work which was constantly under the scrutiny.
It is always up to the woman to handle home and family. Is work-life balance a myth? Or is it achievable? Is it reality? Or should we just come to terms with the fact that there is going to be some compromise, some sacrifice, and just make peace with that?
Guilt is definitely there. It's constant. And I would say nobody gives you that guilt. I think it's you yourself who puts you in that situation, because you're always, as a woman, I think we're a little more ambitious internally, personally, and we want everything done. We are multitaskers, but it's not always possible to do everything. But then we set those parameters for ourselves and we want everything done. And when things don't happen, that's when we fall into guilt. So it's mostly us ourselves who are putting ourselves in that situation. I think it's a part of life. It's not going to go. However hard you try, there's always going to be some aspect or some your professional or your personal life that's going to get neglected for some time, or where you're not going to be able to do justice. You have to live with it. At the same time, yes, there are ways and means of achieving work-life balance. You need to be disciplined, you need to organize well, you need to plan well, and I never deny the importance and the relevance of having a support system. It could be in terms of your family, your extended family, or even a house help, a domestic help who stays and takes care of some aspects of the domestic chores. But yes, guilt is constant, and there's always a fight. There are days when you really come back home saying that I didn't put in, even though I put in a lot of effort, but that part of my professional aspect I couldn't do much justice to. And there are days when you come back home and then you look at your child and you feel, oh, I missed his event in the school, or he had an exam and I couldn't give him time to study, or I couldn't teach him. But that's part and parcel of life. I think the more we make peace with it, the better it is going to be, because there's never going to be a time when it's going to be 10 on 10 everywhere, both the fronts. So it's a constant struggle, it's a constant fight, and every day, you set newer goals for you and you set out to achieve them.
And I just feel that, life is like an infinite, there's a book called Infinite Game, which I've been reading, and I feel that's how I have been leading my life, it's not a win or lose. You know, every day can't be win or lose. You try to bring a balance in your work and life, because work is your passion. It's a big part of your identity as a woman. So, you know, we were talking of Virat Kohli. I feel there are lots of husbands who are doing this, you know, and I'm fortunate to be one of those wives whose husband pushed me into entrepreneurship. He said that, you know, I was like a bit frustrated with the French brand publication which I was working with, their, you know, professionalism, and I was totally down, and I said, you know, I thought the Europeans or the, you know, these guys knew work ethics and they know what should be done and should not be done. And then he said that, okay, don't worry. Why don't you, this was a beauty magazine that I used to represent. I was the India correspondent for about 3 years. And he said, why don't you do, is this product there in India? And I said, no. He said, why don't you just do this, you know? And I looked at him and said, are you crazy? He said, no, here, so at that point, there was a property we had sold. He took out some money from there and he said, you know, why don't you just start this? And we'll see as it goes. We can employ 1 or 2 people if you need the help. And you know how, it was like a nightmare when I started. I had 2 small kids. I had an 8-year-old boy and a 1-year-old boy. And, you know, I used to write the copies. I used to go take the interviews, write them. The designer would come home on a tuta-puta sa computer, design the little magazine that we did. And on weekends, I had a guy who was going out, giving it out to salons and posting it, going to a L'Oreal office and giving it out. And that's how we started, you know. And I'm proud to say that, you know, at that point, we were the first to do this. And L'Oreal and there were Vela and all these brands were looking for a B2B platform which was non-existent in India at that point. And they just embraced us, and then the learning curve starts. When you start working with good brands, then you have to start evolving. You know, you can't do kacha paka design. You have to be A1 in designing, and you have to be, you know, really up there. So, and when, as far as the office culture is concerned, you know, I feel as in some industries like mine and I believe IT, I know that Hewitt has this culture, that, you know, they allow the employees to work from home. In my office, we do that a lot, except for the admin jobs where people have to be, the accountants have to come and do their thing. My office is like a floating office. We work from anywhere and everywhere. We need to have the stories in on time. That's important. The ad should be, you know, we have to monitor. But we work from home. We do flexi time. And anybody can call up office and say, ma'am, today I'm taking off and I'm working from home. Taking off doesn't mean it's a holiday. I'm working from home. So that's the culture we maintain, and that's how work-life balance happens. Yes, with 2 boys, it can get maddening, and, you know, sometimes you feel, oh, I haven't done enough, I should have been there, and that's why this has happened. But then you have to let go, and, you know, you have your, whether it's a mother-in-law, you can't have ego issues with a supporting mother-in-law. Okay, so, you know, or mother for that matter. We can have, you know, issues with our own parents as well. So you just have to be very grateful that they are around, or your husband is around. So I'm here, so, you know, he's taking care of the tests and all that's happening. So, you know, we have to build that thing. And
ecosystem.
yeah, with a lot of humbleness.
And I think, like they say, it takes a village to raise the child, and we need to be grateful to the entire ecosystem. And very interesting point to mention about flexi timings in your office. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs here in this room. We have a lot of decision makers, people representing corporates. And Mugdha, probably you could tell us something about, you know, what do women really want? Like, what are these little changes these companies can make in their policies that will make their workplaces more friendly, like, you know, where women don't have to stop working after they start a family, and just these little things which will make women feel safe and just encourage them to continue working?
I can say this in one line. I think women always want more. We want everything more. We always are innovating, creating. Creating is a part of our life because we are women, we give birth. Though I don't have kids, but I understand from my sister and my friends We want to keep growing. We want to keep doing more than what we are doing. Every day we want to achieve more goals. And that's the core idea of a female mind. That's what I have realized in my working years. And that's what we all achieve in all our fields, I guess, yeah.
That's true. Women want more, and they want growth, they want more. And I know a lot of young women who would want to join the armed forces. So what would you tell all those aspiring young girls who would want to join the forces?
I would say don't waste time, come right in. Come right in. Because, in fact, like I was telling somebody, that part of my core duties is to go and meet young boys and girls in schools, colleges and universities. That's part of my duty, to go and motivate them. So I'm out there doing publicity campaigns for the Indian Air Force, where I tell them, you know, what the Air Force is all about and what kind of life, what kind of career you can look for in the services. And like I said earlier, it's for the women, specifically, it's one of the safest professions. Safety and security is one thing that is the utmost in the armed forces. And other than that, there's a career full of challenges. And when you come back home, you come back with that sense of satisfaction that you've done something, you know, which makes a difference to the service and to the country on the whole. So I would say, young boys and girls, dive right in. There's no time to waste.
Great, thank you so much. Now, I would like to ask a question to all of you. We keep debating, we keep having dialogues over equal opportunity and say pay parity and equal rights for women. And a lot of time men are also a part of this conversation. But do you think, like, really, sincerely, men are ready for this? Men are ready to give equal opportunities to women?
Yeah, so your workload can be little less.
No, but do you see this, do you feel any resistance from men?
I think few,
like not taken seriously and,
few men do support this genuinely. Few are little traditionally driven, their minds are traditionally built, so we can't really help, but most of them, and they're growing daily. This is what I see in my field, and whatever I know from my friends is growing. We are growing, we are getting there, so we need that number a little higher.
I honestly feel that the situation is looking up. The fact that the hashtag #MeToo happened, and we know what a big deal it was, and that itself signifies that things are, coming out in the open, and lots of, people who don't really believe in the professionalism of any profession at all, but, they can at least be alert and more careful before they step into this kind of, arena. However, I just also feel that, I just feel that we women should be wary of unnecessary feminism. Like, oh, so you mean this? I've seen youngsters, my nieces, and having fights with their friends, who are male, just taking offense for no reason. It's like, oh, so you were trying to say that I'm any less? It's like, this thing which is, I feel that, you need to listen, you need to reflect, understand what the other person is saying, both the sexes I'm saying. I've seen less and less of that in the newer generation that's emerging. They feel that it's good to be ballistic, and the moment you put your things on the table, all your cards, and say, this is who I am, that's not real building your relationships. Relationships are built in, it takes time to build relationships. And when it comes to professions, if you're a really true professional, you just prove it by your work. And if you feel injustice is happening, there are ways and means of, doing things, complaining, or whatever it is, whatever, methods there are laid out in most of the organizations these days, which are big, they're mandatory, So that's two. And third, I just strongly suggest, to all women that, and men, of course, men are definitely ready for it. Women are, they love to flaunt. You know, like, oh, so and so is my partner or spouse, or, you know, they really gloat in the glory of their spouses. So it's not as if, you know, they're not ready or they don't want to.
Right.
Maybe sometimes they feel a sense of intimidation. So, so we need to watch out from that.
There's some disagreement there, but yeah. So, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, then can we please have a round of applause for our brilliant panelists who shared their thoughts and their experiences with us. Thank you very much.
So could I request convener IWEC ICC Orissa State Council Ms. Sukirti Patnaik and co-convener Ms. Siddhatmika Khatua to please come up on dais and do the honors and present mementos to all our guests here on stage. And of course, with a round of applause from all of you. We also have in the mementos souvenir gifted by Adi Tribal Foundation, Adi Rani. And the lady behind it is there on stage presenting it as well. All right, so we are geared up to felicitate our 40 entrepreneurs, our committee members now. And without any further delay, I would like to invite on stage first, I'll first request the lovely lady Mugdha ji to once again join us on stage. Before we invite our entrepreneurs, along with her, I would also like to invite on stage Mr. Akshay Parija. A big round of applause. He has been promoting art and culture of Odisha for last 2 decades. Has made 22 films, 12 in Odia, 7 in Bengali, 2 Hindi, 2 short films in English, 2 national awards, 38 state film awards, including a record 3 film state best film award, MBA Film Award USA, businessman in Dubai in shipping, logistic and oil field services, has great understanding for art, culture and world cinema. So we'll request first both of them to do our first set of felicitation. We begin, but like I said, the exercise needs to be done as I invite the ladies on stage. The first one, with a big round of applause from all of you, Ms. Ambirina Ali, Director, City Pharmacy, India's first health mall. Her funda, her mantra, speak only when your words are more beautiful than your silences. Thank you. We will move to the next one. It's Ms. Amrapali Mohanty, Director, Z Estates Private Limited, from a real estate industry committed towards excellence. I'd like to invite on stage Ms. Anuradha Mohanty, owner VLCC Institute, Bhubaneswar, Barampur, Sambalpur. Hard work defines her and she doesn't believe in failures. Her mantra. I have the pleasure of knowing most of them. Feels so good. Would like to invite Ms. Atasi Paricha Patnaik, Managing Partner, Holy Basil Creative Arts. Next would be Dr. Bhavna Gupta. Thank you. Dr. Bhavna Gupta, Founder Director, Davik Food and Beverage Private Limited, bringing smiles on the go. Thank you. Founder and film producer, Ms. Vibhari Ratha, Motion Mind Ventures and Asian Buck Chairperson Mati. She's a new age Indian media entrepreneur by passion, a media scientist by vision. Ms. Siddhatmika Khatua, co-convener, of course, founder and managing trustee of Aryabhat Trust, believes in doing everything with passion. Ms. Gurit Kaur Sethi, Hospital Chief Operating Officer of Care Hospital, Bhubaneswar, a woman here working on bettering healthcare. Dr. Jayanti Mahapatra, since Ms. Aneet Kaur is not there with us, we'll move to Dr. Jayanti Mahapatra. Founder CEO, Manikstu Agro Private Limited, believes in live previously natural. For the next set of felicitation, could I invite on stage DG Rajiv Ji ko. I'll request him to please come on stage. Dr. Rajiv Singh, Director General ICC, thank you so much. We'll move to the next set of felicitation. We'll start with Ms. Junthi Hota, franchisee owner of Head Turner Unisex Salon, State Director of Odisha Mrs. India Universe, President of Prayas NGO. Life is ignorance and confidence, then success is sure. That's our mantra. We'll also request Ms. Joshna Mai Parida, owner Eurokids, and believes that attitude is everything. Ladies and gentlemen, yoga exercises please for arms. Moving next will be Ms. Kavita Gupta, Director, Fortune Powernic Solution Private Limited, and author, poetess and spiritual seeker. The next one will be Dr. Lipsa Panda, Director, Panda Medicals Private Limited, CEO and proprietor of Nuvo Holistic Private Limited. What makes us most beautiful is the way we quietly touch those around us, is our mantra. We had a wonderful session with her and Ms. Kocher, Chairperson, KIT International School. Strength to power, simple mantra. Ms. Nidhi Dhawan, Principal Trustee, Happy Hour School, a woman with a vision, mission and innovation on early childhood education. My first school as well, Happy Hours. Such happy memories. Next would be Ms. Nilanjana Mukherjee, Associate Vice President, Operations, Amli Hospital. Get well sooner. That's what her mantra is. All right, so I'm sorry, Dr. Poonam Balyar Singh, Director, Vehement Energy Private Limited. Go as far as you can see. Thank you. Next would be Dr. Pragya Paramita Mishra, Director, Carcinova Private Limited, a determined, strong woman with a confidence to rise. Next would be Ms. Priyanka Mohanty, Director, Falcon Marine Exports Limited. Passion for work, compassion for people. I would like to invite on stage Mr. M.C. Thomas, he's also from Tata Steel, and Mr. S.S. Upadhyay from JSL. And I'd also like to invite Mr. J.V. Pani to join us on stage for this one. Yes. I like you to join us as well. CA Reema Dhawan, our next lady in action, partner in CA RDA and associate. Good financial planning is key to success. Ms. Ritu Gupta, Director, GPIL. She says she knows how to do her job, will be it in the kitchen or be it in the office. Next would be Ms. Sandhya Patnaik. Ms. Sandhya Patnaik, Company Secretary and Social Entrepreneur. Be positive and keep smiling. That's what she says. Let's smile, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Sanjukta Panda, Founder Director of Kids Preschool, Director of Unitech Center for Professional Studies. Yukta Jha Consultants, Trustee of Light. A paradise for tiny tots, nurturing for better tomorrow. We'll move to the next one. Ms. Shisha Das, Vice President, Golden Anchor Private Limited, Surya Media Private Limited, determined and relentless. Next would be Shubhra Sahu Patro, Ms. Shubhra Sahu Patro, Director, ABC Pharmaceuticals Private Limited, a young leader and Odisha's largest pharmaceutical manufacturer. Sitta Das, proprietor, Kalinga Fuels, simple, sober, yet very strong. And I guess she looks the part as well. Director, Metro Group, committed to bring a change, learning and growing each day. That's how it should be, ladies and gentlemen, learning and growing every day. Sonal Saragi Mure, founder and owner, Alba Gifting, Matru Krupa Agmo Ventures, and her goal is to be a woman who is financially independent. I'd like to invite Ms. Ritu Jha, Ms. Shalu L. Chandel to also join us stage, and along with them, I would also like to invite Mr. T. Ramachandra to please join us on stage. All right, we'll move to our next set of and the last set of felicitation. Ms. Soni Samal, founder director to DPI Skills Private Limited, believes in passion and positivity in self and in the work she creates. She's really put in a lot of hard work. The convener, managing director, Indulge, Ms. Sukirti Patnaik, always make a difference, and she has. Let there be a big round of applause for her. The other day she told me, can I call you at 2 o'clock? Which really meant that she was working till 2 o'clock, and she said, I can call you at 5 again. That shows her hard work. Ms. Suman Patro, partner Suman Patro and Associates. Life is a journey, and yes, hold a map to it. That's what she says. Next would be Ms. Sunita Mohanty. Ms. Sunita Mohanty, CS and Director, SMA Experts Private Limited. Nothing is impossible. Even the word says, I am possible. Yes, very true. And I'm sure all these ladies will make that happen. Next would be Ms. Supriti Mishra, Director, ECP Industries Limited. Always say yes to new adventures, as life is a journey, not a destination. Ms. Swati Kejriwal, partner Ms. OM Kejriwal and Company, miles to go before I sleep. Don't we all say that? Next would be Ms. Tamanna Dehuri, Director, Amrita Builders Private Limited. Travel the world, it's only one life. Taaliyan honi chahiye, the applause should keep coming, come on. Okay, I so love her. Ms. Tanaya Patnaik, and what a wonderful session we had before this. Executive Director, Sambad Group. If there's only one thing you can be kind. Next would be Ms. Tanya Khosla Taneja. Ms. Vandana Gupta. And now the applause should be really hard because we are coming to an end. Founder partner, Rave Jewelry, perfect combination of intelligence and diligence. We'd heard her speak some time back, but she had some urgent work and had to leave. So we welcome the Vice President of Shree Hospitals to do the honors on behalf of Ms. Shalini. So let's have a group photograph. I request everyone to please carry that lovely picture that you're holding of yourself.